Hello, everybody. My name is Jonathan. I'm in the 12th grade in Mr. Matsui's Period 3, and joining me today is...
What's up? My name is Nairan. I'm in grade 12 in an economic class for Matsui's Period 3.
What's up? My name is Keohi. I'm also in Mr. Matsui's class, period 3 in the 12th grade.
What's good? I'm Nick, and I'm in economics class, period 3, and in grade 12.
Thank you guys for joining me today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, it's good to be here. Good to be here.
As you may already know, the purpose of this podcast is to kind of get us talking and discussing about taxes, but we're going to primarily focus on the question of whether or not the rich should pay more taxes than the poor or equivalent amounts, and we're going to try to build off that topic during today's podcast. To start us off, I'm going to give the definition of an income tax. An income tax is a tax directly imposed by government on someone's income. It usually comes in the form of an annual tax, but can vary in size depending on someone's income. Some useful additional information would be the current U.S. tax policy, which follows a progressive tax system where individuals with higher incomes are taxed at higher rates. Wealthy individuals and households pay a larger share of federal income taxes through the higher marginal tax rates, with the top bracket currently taxed at 37%. However, debates continue over whether the wealthy should be paying even more. With the intro out of the way, we can start with our first question, which is, what defines rich in the context of taxation, and how do we measure wealth fairly?
We measure wealth fairly by taxing them on the income, like the rich taxing them more, and the poor taxing them less. So yeah.
I feel like for rich people in the context of taxation, it would probably depend on your income, your annual income, right? Or it would depend on how much money you're bringing in or how much assets you have. In terms of a wealth tax, it's based on market value and assets that you own as a taxpayer. So that's how I'm guessing that's how you would define rich in the context of that, who has more assets than someone else.
But how about if they have all their money to the assets, right? They would be broke, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? They'd be broke. Exactly, right? Yeah. So why would you tax someone just because they have a bunch of wealth and assets like that?
Yeah.
You guys know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't. Yeah.
I see where you're coming from, Nairan. It seems unfair to just be taxing people because they are more successful, but I think they're being taxed because they are successful, right? They have more assets
doesn't
because they have more money.
the poor invest into a house too, you know what I'm saying? A low price house. They could be doing that too. And they can get rich off that.
Oh yeah, real estate they can invest in, and which is pretty much assets. So yeah.
I'm gonna have to kind of disagree a little bit, just because it depends on circumstance and stuff. As much as the next person would say, oh, you should invest in something, you should invest in crypto, or you should invest in real estate, or different things like stocks. It all comes down to also the gap between how much someone is making versus a top person in the 1%. So if someone who's making minimum wage and working a minimum wage job, let's say here, is not even meeting the minimum requirement to be living stably. People in Hawaii, for example, are working 2 jobs or 3 even. Multiple people in the household are working 2 jobs, and they're barely scraping by because the minimum amount to live by yourself is $70,000, $75,000 per year. Not a lot of people are making that off rip. So it's really difficult for some people to invest in real estate or to invest in other things than someone who has a lot of money to spare or has more money to spare than most people.
I mean, I guess, but
yeah.
But it all depends if they're willing to go into a job that pays good, but they hate the job, they could be making it out. They could be out of the poor state, They could be rich if they wanted to. Think about it.
I agree with that, Nairan, but to an extent, because a lot of people, their assets were inherited. So cars or real estate, typically you get it from the parents, and or if they have lots of money, they got those jobs from having prior connections. For example, like a top 1% paying job you would get because your family was part of that top 1%. But a lot of people have a lot less challenging jobs. For example, they have minimum wage paying jobs.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Of course, a minimum wage job would be so much easier, but like, if you like really think about it, they could have been like out of that house, you know, out of that like neighborhood, that ghetto ass neighborhoods, you know, they could have been out of there if they wanted to. You know what I'm saying?
So, okay, so I want to touch on what our host said about like certain things that prevent people from like maybe investing in things or maybe getting a higher paying job, which was the bachelor's degree and the argument of the college education thing. So the average person in the U.S. doesn't have a bachelor's degree. As of 2024, 37.7% of Americans who are 25 or older have a bachelor's degree, which is really, really low compared to the amount of people that are in the U.S., which that's like really, 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 really low. So that would definitely prevent a lot of people from not just working some minimum wage job, like going to McDonald's or some other retail store or a fast food joint or even a restaurant where you're a server. It would prevent a lot of people from getting a corporate job or a job that might have a stable amount of pay that you can like keep working up towards, that's in the tens of thousands or even sometimes hundreds of thousands at some point in your career, which does make it very difficult for you to invest in some things. So, like if you're working at McDonald's in California, you're making around $20 an hour ish because of the new the pay raises there, and it's still really hard for people who are just working that even 7 days a week to be investing or even living properly. People are barely scraping by because of how much people get taxed and also just how much the cost of living is in the U.S.
I mean, that also like depends on a person too. Like, let's just say they do like bad decisions. Like, let's just say they go out and eat every time. You know, that also, you know, reduces their money. Let's just say they do heavy drugs. You know, that's gonna reduce their money too. Like, it all depends on the person, realistically. It's not even about the college. You don't even really like. You see all these like billionaires, millionaires, bro. Half of them I see on the internet, they don't even have a bachelor's degree. They just got lucky.
Can you give me some examples of those billionaires?
Elon Musk.
Wait, huh? Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Wait,
Elon Musk. Hold on.
Wait. Does he have a bachelor's?
Elon Musk has a bachelor's in physics and and economics, and he has two bachelors actually.
Yeah, there's no way. That guy's big as hell. There's no way.
I was gonna be surprised if he didn't have any higher education.
He also got accepted into a PhD program at Stanford, so he is.
Oh, so he's just smart.
He is in the top percentage of people.
Yeah, it was Bill Gates, right? The big
Oh,
guy.
that's the one. Yeah. I bet.
And this goes back to what Nairan said about it depends on the person. It does depend on the person to an extent. It depends on the person, but there also are extenuating circumstances that might prevent people from.
If you make bad decisions, like, of course, you're not gonna get out of that 9 to 5. You know, of course, like you're gonna have to at least grind for 1 year straight. Maybe you see some progress. I don't know.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
that's fair.
That's fair, right?
So moving on, what might a fair tax system look like to you guys?
A fair tax system?
Do you think that the wealthy and the poor should be taxed equally?
No, absolutely not. Definitely not. I'd say that honestly, the wealthy should be taxed more. I understand that sometimes taxing wealthy people more can have some repercussions in terms of like job market. Like if we tax wealthy people more, sometimes there's like some potential challenges that might be involved. Like if I implement a higher tax on wealthy people, there could be a shortage of job opportunities at like really big companies because maybe they don't want to pay more employees, so they stop hiring people because they're getting taxed more. But I feel like in the long run, it'd be better for a cohesive society as a whole, just because more money is getting circulated, and it honestly creates a little more of a balance than poor people getting taxed so much than wealthy people getting away with just making billions and billions of dollars a year and just staying at the top when they should probably be paying like a little more because they make so much more.
I mean, you never know. Like those billionaires, like why would they pay taxes to the government when it was only them from the start making that kind of money? You know what I'm saying? Like
Oh yeah, no, I'm not. I'm
Like,
not. I'm not. I'm not
like,
denying the hard work. You know,
yeah,
that's yeah. But it's. I'm not saying it's not fair that they're making that much either. I'm not gonna sit here and cry about it. Oh, like they're making so much more than me. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, the society needs to become cohesive and needs to work together in order to form like a really, really like good nation or a good like just place in general. So, and that a lot of times starts with a base of economics and a really good type of economy or a good start to it. And taxes play a really big role in that. And I feel like definitely wealthy people should be taxed a little more because they also have more money to spare at the end of the day.
Yeah. Like, I'd say like the rich can they can avoid or evade taxes by cryptocurrency and or offshore accounts where they can store money in multiple currencies, which which allows them to not be taxed. Which I don't know.
Thanks for bringing that up. I think that that's a big issue because you can't
Yeah.
really tax
Yeah.
cryptocurrencies. You can't
Yeah.
tax offshore accounts, especially because of the U.S. policies.
I mean, how do you all, why do you guys think that it's like such a like polarizing topic for people to talk about? Like, why do you guys think like it's such a big deal to talk about this kind of stuff?
I think that people like to talk about this because of how vastly different the economic groups are. Like the distance from the 1% and the average person
Of course.
is so huge that it's kind of dumbfounding. And people play into the idea of why can't I be like them? There's also a lot of differing feelings about
Yeah.
this topic as well.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. For sure.
Everyone's in disagreements. Um, yeah. Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt anything, but we are coming up on the 12-minute mark. And so I'm going to summarize pretty much everything we talked about this episode. So we talked about what defines rich in the context of taxation and how we measure wealth fairly. We also talked about the issues and concerns that come with cryptocurrency and offshore bank accounts and how they could be fairly taxed. We also talked about the fair tax systems and what they might look like to us, and the issues of inheritance and nepotism and how that can affect our economy. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today and talking on this episode. Also, I want to thank Mr. Matsui for letting us do this pretty cool assignment. And yeah, thank you guys.
For sure. Always, bro.
Oh
yes,
yeah.
sir.
All right. Once again, thank you guys so much. I'll talk to you guys later.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Peace.
Yeah.